What's up, PTB Nation? Welcome to episode number 54 of Parking the Bus. Yes, I've got my jersey on. You can see it if you're watching live. The group stage is over. My team survived. And what a day of football we had today. What a day of football that we just had. It was phenomenal from start to finish. I mean, whether you're talking about the matches in Group E or the matches in Group F, it was fantastic today. 4 matches, all worth watching. And it is fun it's definitely fun when there's 2 matches going on simultaneously, in my opinion. I really like when that happens. I kind of like, keeping an eye on 2 matches, even though obviously today when my team's playing in one, it was a lot harder to keep up with what was going on in the Germany versus Hungary match. But I had it on. I had access to it, and I kept looking over. But as the match went on, I must say my eyes started to shift that way just a little, because I mean it was just nail biting. From the perspective of a Portugal fan, obviously, right off the bat, Hungary scores, and it's like a part of me wanted Hungary so bad to advance. I thought they deserved to advance, but not at my expense, of course. As a fan, as a neutral, I could totally understand why everyone would want Hungary to advance, and a lot of Hungarians filled the stadium in Budapest tonight for the Portugal-Spain game, and that was very evident because when Hungary scored, the entire stadium erupted as if it had happened in front of them. At the time, I thought it was the French fans celebrating, because I thought they really wanted to eliminate us today, and they probably did up to a point until they realized, that the results were going their way and they didn't need to take as many chances. But boy, they were close. I mean, Portugal survived. Like I said, it was an improvement from the Germany match. But boy, France, when they want to turn it on, are just so talented. So talented. Fortunately, though, it wasn't a full 90-minute onslaught, and they didn't really exploit the weak points that Germany had basically pointed out for the whole world to see last Saturday. The manager got it much better today. He made some adjustments, and I think he got them right. I'll get into it when I talk about that match. But at the end of the day, the 3 teams in the group of death all got out. But that group of death was even tougher than expected, in my opinion, because Hungary were much more a player in this group than anyone had given them credit that they would be. They only lost 1 match. Fortunately for Portugal, it was Portugal that got that victory and got the 2 extra goals in that victory to make today a lot more bearable. Granted, the 4 points was always going to be enough, but still, if not for that victory over Hungary, we're looking at Hungary and Portugal both on 3 points. And who knows? Who knows at that point? Although, Hungary can leave with their head held high. They drew the world champions. They drew the Germans that had just obliterated the European champions in the previous match day. It was an absolute honorable performance from Hungary in this edition of Euro 2020. I think they can be very, very proud of themselves, especially in the group they were drawn into. Now, there was the little bit that they were playing at home, but you know what? I'm not gonna chalk that up, because today they were on the road. They were in Germany, taking on Germany, and for much of the match, when I looked over, they were not just holding their own; they were taking it to Germany at times. Germany levels 1-1, and Hungary immediately goes back ahead, putting the pressure on the teams in the other match as well. It was just a real good day of football. A lot to watch. I've seen some of the comments out there. Some people thought that the teams in the group of death didn't perform or didn't show as well as you thought they should. Well, that's because they were in the group of death. Let's be real here for a second. How would Italy or the Netherlands have looked in this group? Not as fantastic, obviously, as they did, facing the competition that they faced. Okay. And how would one of these teams have looked in another group? We don't know. But I think the thing is, it was a very, very competitive group. Okay. Move aside, Portugal's collapse against Germany, but it was a competitive group. Hungary came in and did their work. Okay, they were very much a player, like I said, in the group, and they brought a lot to this group, and they pushed the top teams to the absolute limit. All three of them. So when we talk Group F in a little bit, we'll get more into that. But I come away very, very impressed with the work of Hungary. Now, in the other group, in Spain's group, we've got a Spanish team that finally came out today. A Spanish team that finally showed some of what they can do. It wasn't without its stress as well, because after Morata missed that penalty kick, I thought maybe we were about to see the implosion of a fantastic team. And I thought maybe we were going to see, I don't know, we were going to see just a complete upset in the making. I thought maybe Slovakia were going to get through this. And I thought maybe Slovakia were just going to sneak one in there and make it real interesting. Of course, the other match in that group was very, very good as well, where you had Poland taking on Sweden. And just when you thought that one was done, and just when you thought that one was going to, you thought it was a sure thing for Sweden, Poland come roaring back on the back of who else but the great, maybe the greatest Polish player of all time. And yes, that's saying something, because there were phenomenal world-class Polish players, especially in the 1970s. But maybe the best Polish footballer of all time, Robert Lewandowski, comes up with 2 huge goals today, keeps his team in it right to the very end before before Sweden take it away from them. All right, let's get into it now. All right, we'll look at the early matches first, and we will start with Spain, okay, and Slovakia. I'm pulling that up right now, and this match was taking place in Seville, in Spain, in Sevilla, and it was in front of a crowd of 11,204. The referee was from the Netherlands. It was Bjorn Kuipers. The lineups, starting with Slovakia, Martin Dubravka is the goalkeeper. They're playing 4-4-1-1. Peter Pekarik is the right back. Lubomir Satka, Milan Skriniar, and Tomas Hubokan are the 4 in the back, while the midfield has Lucas Haraslin on the right, Jirai Kuka and Jacob Romada in the center, and Robert Mack down the left, with Marek Hamšík playing in the traditional number 10 role behind the striker Ondrej Duda. For La Roja, they come in with Unai Simon once again in goal for Luis Enrique. They're playing a 4-3-3. The 4 across the back, we see the return of Cesar Azpilicueta as the right back. Eric Garcia and Laporte team up to take on the role of central defense, while Jordi Alba plays down the left. In midfield, the 3 is anchored by Sergio Busquets, Koke to the right, Pedri to the left. Not much of a change there. And then the 3 in the attack, Alvaro Morata is the striker, Pablo Sarabia down the right, and Gerard Moreno down the left. So, like we said, it starts off with a penalty kick early. So I'll go to that first. It was in the 12th minute. Not called originally. Referee Bjorn Kuipers goes to the monitor, takes a look, comes back, and points to the spot and awards a penalty kick to Spain. Up steps Alvaro Morata, who desperately needs a goal. He desperately needs to get his name back on the score sheet. However, it wasn't meant to be, as it would be saved. It was a fantastic save by Martin Dubravka. He guesses right. He gets a strong hand up, and he parries it away. Real good job done by the goalkeeper there to keep it out and keep it 0-0. And like I said, when that went down, I'm wondering, how was Spain going to respond? Are their heads going to drop? Are they going to start to just pass sideways and backways slow? And are they going to lose all belief in themselves? Well, the answer is no. And finally, in the 30th minute, though, it was maybe the worst goalkeeping gaffe we have seen in a long time. Dubravka going up, looking like he's maybe trying to parry the ball over the bar for a corner kick or something along that line. But again, I've harped on this in this tournament more than I think I ever have. And the same is true for goalkeepers as for defenders. When you get them turning around, facing their own goal, their mistakes lead to own goals. We've seen a lot of own goals in this tournament, and the majority of them are hard-earned own goals. This one, I think he just gets caught out of position, and instead of backpedaling, turns, looks, and tries to parry the ball over the bar, misparries it, and puts it right into his own goal. 1-0 to La Roja, and the Spanish fans erupt in a sigh of relief, really, as it looks like they were, starting to think about the possibility of going out in the group stage of this competition. 3 points wasn't going to do it, most likely. They knew that. They knew that they would need a better goal difference because they were at even. Had they drawn today, it would have still been an even draw, knowing Portugal have a +1 goal difference, and knowing that, well, actually, it would have got them through because they would have had a better goal difference than the Ukraine. So when this ball went in, I think the Ukraine was as happy as anybody that the goalkeeper had a gaffe like this. I'm sure that it was the Ukraine that celebrated this as much as the Spanish did, because this gave them a brand new lease on life. And just before the half, Laporte makes it 2-0. A very nice goal off a set piece, as he gets in there and finds the back of the net. And Spain now go comfortably into the locker room at halftime with a 2-0 lead. I'm sure that Luis Enrique was telling them at that point to continue, to keep going, to press on, because they did not want to put their fate in someone else's hands. They did not want to leave it up for the end of the match and make it a stressful situation. And therefore, I think they really came out in the second half and really made a statement. Now, I got a comment on Facebook. You can't see it on the screen. For some reason, the Facebook comments don't make it to this screen, and I don't know why, because they should. But Italo Hara, friend of mine down in Florida, asks who I got in the finals. Oh, my goodness. Looking at it, it's going to be very, very tough to call. I think if Belgium get by Portugal, I think the winner of that Belgium-Italy quarterfinal that is matching up, I think the winner of that quarterfinal probably gets into the final, and they'll face likely either France or the Netherlands, I would say, based on just how teams are playing. But then again, teams that are in groups that are not as strong are going to look better. And I said this a few nights ago. The teams that wow us in the group stage are very rarely in the final. Somewhere along the way, someone stops them from being able to play so well. They slip up, and at some point, they can't do what they've been doing, and they struggle to adjust. They get caught on a counter or something like that, or they go out in a penalty shootout in a match where they control the entire thing, and they're sending men forward, and they're getting chance after chance after chance, and they can't get it in. We've seen that too, where favorites go down in a shootout, for example. But right now, my best bet for a spot in the final is going to be whoever gets out of this quarterfinal between Italy and the winner of Belgium-Portugal. I definitely think the winner of that quarterfinal will go to the final. England's going to play a lot of matches at home. However, I think they're going to lose to Germany. To be brutally honest with you, I think Germany's going to send England home right now in the round of 16. And at the end of the episode, we'll break down the round of 16. But I think that it's going to be interesting. But Germany may very well make a run here too. I know they didn't play well today, and they're very inconsistent. But when they want to, they can still make a statement. Moving now to the second half of this one. Spain come out, like we said, with the lead. And in the 56th minute, it is Sarabia making it 3-0. And now you know that the floodgates are about to open. Fernan Torres makes it 4-0 in the 67th minute. And it's Kuka with an own goal. Again, another own goal in the 71st minute. And Slovakia completely crumbles, completely comes apart. And that is the tournament for Slovakia, who started so promising with that victory over Poland. Okay. And then losing just a mere 1-0 to Sweden on a penalty kick. They were so close to getting that all-important fourth point that would have landed them in the round of 16. But when push came to shove today, and when it was a must get a result type of match, they met a Spanish side that woke up. They met a Spanish side that finally found the back of the net. They met a Spanish side that started loving their football again. And credit to Luis Enrique. I've criticized him in the past. I've criticized this methodology. I've criticized this style, this poor man's tiki-taka is what it really is. I think it's a disrespect to the Spain teams of 2008, 2010, 2012 to call this tiki-taka. Because again, it is like a lower level version. It's like a cheaper version of the same, high class product. It's like a generic version of a high end product. It's like going to Walmart or to Target and getting the knockoff tiki-taka. That's what this team looked like. But today they got it done. They needed a little help though. It was the OG, the own goal that changed everything, that had them settling down and had them playing their football again. Moving on to the other game in that group going on simultaneously. This one's in St. Petersburg. Very, very high temperatures in St. Petersburg. A lot of the teams are talking about the heat in this competition. And the recovery is definitely going to be affected by the fact that they're playing in the heat. But especially the teams playing in the daylight hours, such as these four teams, dealing with even more heat. We've seen the cooling breaks, but it is Sweden taking on Poland. Let's look at the lineups. I'll start with Poland. Obviously, Szczesny is in goal, the Juventus keeper. They're playing 3-4-2-1. Brzezinski is the right center back. Kamil Glik, the central defender, and Jan Bednarek is the left center back, with Kamil Joziak and Timutusz Pukac as the two wing backs. Krychowiak and Klich are the pivot in midfield, with two attacking midfielders in front of them, Karol Swiderski and Piotr Zielinski, and they're playing behind the legend, the man, the myth, the legend. I am going to miss this player when he is no longer playing. He's a joy to watch. It is Robert Lewandowski of Bayern Munich, of course. For Sweden, Robin Olsen is the goalkeeper. Four in the back in their traditional old school 4-4-2 with two lines of four. You got Mikael Lustig as the right back, Victor Lindelof and Marcus Danielsson, the center backs. Ludvig Augustinsson is the left back. The two center midfielders are Christopher Olsen and Albin Ekdal, with Emil Forsberg going down the left and Sebastian Larsson, the captain, going down the right. Robin Quaison partners with Alexander Isak in the attack up front. And again, this was a match that was just so much fun to watch, so much fun to follow. Sweden get on the board here. I think it's in like within 40 seconds. Let's see here. It was very, very early. I think it was before the first minute even expired. It just says here in the first minute, but it was seconds into the match, and it was Emil Forsberg. What a phenomenal player Emil Forsberg is. One of my favorites, of course. I like a lot of the guys. If you've noticed listening to the show the past 13 days, I like the guys from RB Leipzig. There's a lot of players I like in that RB Leipzig team, whether it is Forsberg or it is, Yusuf Paulson. I do like those players. And I like the way they play, and it's been fun to watch them play with their national teams, no doubt. And it is a great start for Sweden. Poland had multiple attempts to clear the ball. First, when Isak brought it down before Forsberg latches onto it, he takes it around Glick and fires across the goal into the far bottom corner. 1-0 to the Swedes, an assist for Alexander Isak, one of the darlings of this tournament. No doubt he has played some phenomenal football for Sweden, especially given the style of play that they play. And they sit in deep and they wait and they wait. And when he does get the ball, a lot of times he's all by himself on an island. And I think he has created so much for his team off of the dribble, just by himself, without any support. He has just opened up with his dribble. He has opened up spaces for his teammates to get in. And he's just a phenomenal player on the ball, a joy to watch. I really like Alexander Isak. Of course, he plays his club football for Athletic Bilbao, if I'm not mistaken. And he is a Real Sociedad, excuse me. I made that mistake yesterday when I misidentified players between a couple of Mexican teams, and they were rivals. All right. And joining us now on the line, Bodie is here. He is at Fade My Plays. Let's welcome him to the show. What's up, bro?
What is going on? Apologies for being so late. I didn't even think I could make it, but I just had to get on and talk about the madness that we witnessed today.
Yeah, I was just getting into Sweden versus Poland. I'll let you, if you want, say anything about the Spain game. I ran that one down pretty quickly, but they finally showed up.
Spain that's the only thing I have to say about it. Spain showed up, and especially after that Morata brick penalty. First of all, Spain have 5 penalties now that they've bricked in a row. That's pretty insane. But also, I mean, there was a part of me that wanted them to lose just so that God, I always forget his name. What's his face? Their manager.
Luis Enrique.
Thank you. Just so Luis Enrique, see, well, that's what happens when you leave out every vet and every Madrid player. But, I mean, we all saw this coming. We all thought it would happen earlier than this, but it was good to see them actually get some life so that they won't just be swept away in the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they got buoyed a little bit, if that's the right word, because I think they were sinking, and all of a sudden they got a life preserver in the form of that goalkeeping mishap there that led to the first goal.
Yeah, that's the story of this tournament, is like ridiculous keeper, mishaps that are creating massive chances for some teams. Like Finland, the only reason they're even close is because Kasper Schmeichel just was not in it, and then you had the own goal the other day for they rebound off the post, off the back of your mat. But yeah, I agree.
Fantastic. So I just went over the first goal for Sweden, 40 some seconds into the match. Of course, our guy Emil Forsberg, we both like him. We've talked about him. Just absolutely slides it in, and looking like it was going to
Incredible.
be an easy day for the Swedes at times.
Yeah.
Of course, this became one of the more entertaining. Actually, this may have been the most entertaining match of the day, especially in the heat they were dealing with in St. Petersburg and playing in the daytime hours. For the, we'll get to it in a minute, but for the type of comeback that Poland would mount in the second half and to not go down that easy. But in the beginning, it is all Sweden, and I was also commenting on how much I've liked watching Alexander Isak play. A lot of times all by himself. Because they're sitting so deep defensively. When he does get the ball, he usually doesn't have a teammate anywhere near him, and he's been able to create so much off the dribble and allow his team to get forward because he keeps the ball long enough, and also allow his back line a rest.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Poland aren't going through, obviously, and deservedly not. But it was good to see that when kind of it all started to fall apart, there was some fight left, because they played terrible this entire tournament. It's just shocking to me that they did as badly as they did. But especially, and you felt kind of like with the Spanish game when Morata missed the penalty, when you saw Lewandowski get that header, hit the post, point blank chance, best striker in the world, arguably, 2 yards out, heads it onto the post again. You're just like, okay, Poland's done. This is it. Yeah. Goodbye.
Yeah, and when Lewandowski's missing one of those, you just assume it's not.
To hit the post off that header, it was a free header, but fair enough, it happens. But then, a point blank chance that you or I could have put away, that's a bad sign. But lo and behold, he gets his goal, doesn't leave the tournament empty-handed, and in reality, it was an impressive performance. Really, I think people are saying from Poland, but I think from the Swedes. Poland is on paper, neutral field, 10 times out of 10. They will probably beat the Swedes 6 or 7 times out of 10.
Sure.
And to see what they've done so far in this tournament is not only a very, great job that they've done, the energy they've brought, but a huge compliment to their coaching staff, because they have played every single game perfectly. Their setup has been very, specific to the teams that they're playing. Tactically, they've been very sound and very disciplined. You don't see them committing a lot of fouls. You don't see them committing a lot of errors. I think they happen occasionally, but overall, I'd say they've been extremely surprising just in the way in which they're set up each and every game. We've only seen 3, but I've been impressed.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be interesting to see. And I have the round of 16 matchups scrolling along the bottom throughout the show. And there's some real big time matchups already going on in this round of 16.
Are we going to get to those? Are we talking about those at all?
I think we probably will be able to do that before we go.
I just have to say it. I got to get it out, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see this tragic German side bounce England.
I did say that in the Open when I first started. I said that as well, that I think that they're going to be crushed.
And especially I said this, and I know we'll get to that game, but like Germany has so many holes in their defense, and yet you watch England play and you're like, you're not going to do anything with it. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if they put up 3 in any game. Not that you need to, but just there's no I don't know, connectivity between their players. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, it will. It is. That's one of the ones that I'm excited to see, obviously. And sticking with this one here, Forsberg doubles the lead in the 59th, and then Lewandowski, puts the team on his back and puts them back in the game with 6 minutes to go, and they had been just constantly coming forward. They level in the 84th. It looked like they were still going to steal a winner in this one. It did not look like Sweden were going to be the ones to get a late winner on the counter, because Sweden were pinned back, to be honest, until they finally, I think the adrenaline or the energy just finally was sucked out of the Polish side, and they got caught. They had to send guys forward. They needed the victory, and it eventually came back to get them there in the end in the 90th +4. Clayson will finish it off and put Sweden through and to win the group. And I don't know how many people in the Pick'em Challenge had Sweden picked to to
I
win the
sure as hell
group.
didn't.
I
I
don't know
think I
that
had them
anyone did.
actually in third. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I think
definitely
that's where
not
most
winning.
people had them.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts on this one?
Sweden's going to be a tougher out for people than I think. I think they definitely have the legs to beat the Ukraine the way I've seen them set up. Just because of the way that the Ukraine plays as well. But yeah, I mean, I can't say it enough. Full credit to the Swedish coaching staff. I mean, the way that they have approached each game has made them look in control the whole time. Even against Spain, there was never a moment where you felt that they were out of their depth or outclassed or getting lucky. And that's a really telling sign in these type of competitions when players don't look rattled, when they give up a 2-goal lead, they still calm down and get it back. I mean, these are the signs of a team that has a lot of fight and a lot of ability in them. I don't think they're going to go very far, but I think they can definitely beat the Ukraine.
Yeah, no doubt. And how happy are the Ukraine? I think they thought they were done. I don't think that they thought they were going to be here. And that's why you got to wait until it's over, because remember, they played very early and then had a couple days waiting, but that's why they keep training. In the end, Spain does them a big favor by blowing out Slovakia and taking them out of the picture. And then Portugal gets that point, and that leaves a spot for Spain in the round for Ukraine in the round of 16.
That is one thing I will say. Sorry about the earlier game, is that I can't say this. I'm not in their camp, but it did look like Slovakia came out and said, "Let's just not lose by too much." It didn't look like they in any way were trying to press. It didn't look in any way like they were trying to control the ball. It looked like their entire game plan was what we were saying the other day about Portugal. Like, you can't have that mentality of, oh, let's just not lose by too much, because not only can you lose by too much, but you're not attacking the ball. And then Spain got more comfortable on it. I mean, can you imagine if Slovakia had pressed and maybe even gone ahead after that Morata penalty? Spain would have been just absolutely torn apart. But instead, they let them keep coming at them, and they're not a good enough team to do that. And they paid the price. They're out of the Euros, deservedly so. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
They could have stayed in, and the game plan that they had seemed to be, let's just let them, get their 1 or 2 goals and then go home.
Yeah, if not for a penalty, surrender to Sweden, they probably get a point there, and they'd be going on. Instead of instead of the Ukraine would have been out, because they would have been the ones on 3 points. So, all right, we'll move to the later games. I'll start with Portugal and France today, because this is where the majority, obviously, of my attention was. Although it is nerve-wracking, because as results start to go, you start to shift your attention to see if, as your team starts to not play well, you're looking to see, well, maybe we can get the help over here. But I'll go to the lineups first, and I'll start with France. Didier Deschamps comes out with Hugo Lloris. 4-2-3-1 is their formation, and I got a thought on this. I would love to get your thought on it in a moment. They got Jules Kounde moved into the starting lineup. Rafael Varane, Presnel Kimpembe, and Lucas Hernandez across the back. Pogba and Kante as the double pivot in midfield, and then an attacking trio of Corentin Tolisso, Antoine Griezmann, and Kylian Mbappe, and they're playing behind Karim Benzema. And I think that France are moving too many pieces around to get everybody on the pitch. Because I think that Griezmann is not being set up to succeed in this role. And he doesn't normally play well against Portugal either, which is ironic, because his grandfather's Portuguese. But he struggles when he plays against Portugal. It was the same thing in the final 5 years ago. And he's dropping so deep. This is an attack-minded player with goal-scoring ability and assisting ability, and a lot of times he's parking himself right between Kante and Pogba. Yeah, and I think to me it looks like he's moving pieces around just to get all of the big names on the pitch together, which I think is part of the mistake that Portugal was making, and today corrected, because dropping Bruno Fernandes, which was a tough decision, allowed the others to play their game more. So I'll go to Portugal's lineup. So there were some changes which people expected, which Julie Foudy obviously didn't watch the first game when she thought that the outside backs would both be swapped out when it was an overload, and it was the extra guy that was always doing the damage. I got real annoyed with her pregame analysis, but Rui Patricio's in goal, Nelson Semedo at right back, Pepe and Ruben Dias, and Rafael Guerrero on the left. And then the changes. So he goes from a double holding mid to a single holding mid, which I think worked well. He leaves Danilo in. Out comes Bruno and William. In comes Renato Sanchez and João Moutinho. I talked about João Moutinho on Saturday. He is maybe the least popular player on this team with fans, and I think he was crucial today. He cut out those passing lanes. He protected Nelson Semedo. He protected against that overload. France didn't really look for it the same way that the Germans did, because France is looking for their attacking players. Yeah. They're looking for Mbappe. They're looking for Griezmann. So they're not going to attack the same way that Germany did, which is why I thought this was going to be a little bit of a better matchup. The Germans are just a absolutely horrible matchup for Portugal, with the way that they throw bodies forward and they force you back, and they don't allow you to force them to defend. They just have a way about it. And I think today, for everything the manager got wrong on Saturday, he corrected the problems today. Renato Sanchez was phenomenal today. Yeah, I thought he was huge. He brought a lot of energy. He has the ability, to relieve pressure off the dribble. He can carry the ball 30, 40 yards and get out of our end for a little while, which we couldn't do against Germany, so that it was wave after wave coming forward. And then up front, much better game from Bernardo Silva and from Diogo Jota. They tracked back a lot better. They didn't just sit up front as much. And I think they both put in a real hard shift. They even switched sides at times to confuse the French a little bit. And of course, the striker is Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah, they were both pens, but ice cold in his veins to finalize them. The second one especially I was worried about, because he had already taken one. I thought Hugo Lloris was going to guess correctly on the second one. He didn't. And like you said, with all the penalties being missed, there needs to be something said about stepping up and scoring them, especially with the type of stakes that were on the line today.
100%. I think also, I don't know, even though, don't get me wrong, he has a past of, doing some penalties that are pretty easy to save, but I'm just such a believer in moments like this. Like, big game players show up. That's why you give the penalties to Benzema and not Mbappe. That's why Ronaldo, 10 times out of 10, if he's missed the first 9, you still let him take that 10th one. It's because they're the players that not only are not shaken by all those misses, but the ones that are still coming at that 10th shot with the same amount of intensity and confidence that they know they can do it. And, even though this game was kind of, I don't know, not marred by penalties, but 3 out of the 4 goals were penalties. Yeah. I mean, if that was a prop bet, it'd be like plus 50,000.
Right. Someone would have got rich on that.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that I liked most about this game is, I think, one, it exposed France, because France got a lucky goal against Germany, but really they should have 3 points in this tournament. And like you said, the rotation, maybe that's part of it, and Deschamps is trying to do that. I mean, God, he did that all the time at PSG, and look what that did. But I mean, I just don't know where France gets their threat when playing a team that isn't very good. This is why I think they drew the way they did with Hungary, is because Hungary's not that great of a team, as much as they look great today, but that was more Germany than anything.
Sure.
But when they have the onus on them, you have to attack the game. You have to go and get the goal. They don't have that fire within them. It's very much how people's criticism of Paul Pogba at Manchester United is that he looks almost apathetic sometimes. Obviously, the skill is there, but the desire and the fire to make sure that you win that game is not there, like you see with the Cristiano Ronaldo, like you see with the Bruno Fernandes, even though he didn't play, like Renato said, the entire Portuguese team, really. You see it with the Germans. you don't see it with England. This kind of real intensity that we want to win, and when we have to, we're going to go and grab that win. Whereas France seems very, very happy to sit back, let the game come to them, and then know that they have much, much more superior attacking on the counter, and that they are probably the better team. So, yeah, we'll probably win. And that's a really, really slippery slope to play when it comes to these knockout stages, because look what happened in the Euro final 4 years ago. That's exactly how they played. And the problem is when they get behind, they're not good at getting the lead. It's like exactly what happened against Hungary. They got behind, they scored, and never really looked like scoring again because Hungary was just sitting everybody back. So I don't know. Exposed is the wrong word, but I just think France, they have a lot to work out in terms of their ability to take the game to someone else as opposed to the other way around. And I think that's what Germany got caught out doing today, is that Germany went into this game thinking Hungary's going to sit back, we're going to attack them, we're going to pretty much employ the exact same thing we did against Portugal. But instead, Hungary came out furious and we're like, fuck it, we're going for it. And they did, and they got an early lead. And Germany got slapped in the mouth. They didn't expect it at all. And I think that's exactly the kind of danger that you see in France, is like, if they go behind, they did today, don't get me wrong, but then it was penalty and penalty and penalty. If it's open play, I don't see them
a marginal onside by a hair. The second goal, he's onside by a hair. So
it's interesting to see, and they come back and get the lead and then give it up, almost immediately. It's going to be interesting. I think, unfortunately, I want Portugal to win it all. I think Belgium's a really tough matchup because they play like the Germans. I think England would have been,
that would have been perfect.
But I loved seeing the adjustments Portugal made, like you said. But the thing that, again, and I go back to this, and I think it means a lot more, is that you have a team that is willing to not only make those alterations, but it doesn't shake them when they do drop behind. They're like, all right, they had the lead, they lost the lead, then they went behind, they still came back and fought. That kind of fire and that kind of team, I think, just there's a lot to be said for that. And, we saw that with Germany, like they got punched in the mouth, and unexpectedly so. Yet you knew that entire game they were not losing. They fought all the way through, but Portugal, And do you really think of all three penalties, was any one of them not a penalty for you?
No, I think they all were penalties. They're just on the limit of what is a penalty.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, that
the word they used is soft, and I guess that's right, but still a penalty.
The letter of the law,
right? Especially in the age of VAR.
And what does it say if your team gives up two penalties? And not just two penalties, but both were penalties to lose the lead or to lose their position in the game. One was to go behind, and one was to lose their lead. And it's like, that means that you get rattled at the most important times. Giving away two penalties is so insane at the level that France plays. And again, we said this at the beginning of the tournament. I think France has probably the best back four in the entire tournament. Stunning defense. And this happens against, a Portugal team where you kind of know the way in which they're going to attack. It stuns me that they keep getting results that are subpar. Their only win, they didn't score a goal. That's insane to me.
Yeah, they've certainly underwhelmed. I think I had said before you got here that this group ended up being even tougher than these teams expected.
Yeah, for sure.
I watched the post-game press conference on Portuguese television, and Portugal coach said he believes all three teams underestimated Hungary. Now that it's all set and done,
who's the only one to get a fucking win against them? Though?
Right. And everyone looked at this like Hungary's a layup, and then the other three will battle it out for first, second, and third. And it didn't play out that way. Everybody had to fight, claw, and scratch to get a point from Hungary. So,
but again, and this is the thing that makes me I don't know. I don't have time for forgiveness in that regard, because Hungary should have had 0 points in this tournament. by no fault of their own, they came up against three very good teams. But the idea that Portugal can have 0 goals until the 84th minute and then win 3-0, and then France goes behind and then draws, and Germany goes behind and then draws. Like, I don't know. It irks me that you can't really back either of those teams, because what kind of performance is that? And I know Germany pretty much blew out Portugal, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, I don't know. It feels weird to say that France is this dominant first place winner and they're going on to face England. And I think, or excuse me, not England. They're going on to face Switzerland. Thank you. And they're going to, obliterate them. But like, are they, I don't know. I haven't seen anything that says they're going to do well.
Can you really trust them to go do that?
They got gifted 3 points. They haven't won a game.
Yeah, and these teams really had to play in this group stage. There was no coasting. Yeah. So whether or not that's going to get them battle tested or that's going to get them worn out as the tournament goes on, that's going to remain to be seen.
Well, also, Deschamps wins a game, right? And then what does he do? Completely change the lineup.
Yeah.
Now, I can kind of understand that, because like I said, you didn't really win the game. You got handed it, but you completely changed the lineup. And then you draw a game that you should absolutely win.
Yeah.
And then for the next game, you completely change it up again. Whereas Portugal, they won a game handily, kept the same team, got destroyed, changed it up, drew a game against a very good French side. So it's like, I don't know. I think the Euros is such an interesting time to see coaches be exposed, because you don't have a 40-game season. You don't have a 32-game season. You have 3 matches to get it right, and then 3 more to hopefully make it to the final. And from the big clubs, you can tell, like, I don't trust Deschamps. I don't trust Gareth Southgate. There are teams that they look as though they could have all the talent in the world. I don't trust Enrique, and yet they're not going to go anywhere with it because they look so discombobulated.
Yeah, no doubt. And there was a disconnect in the French team today. They, especially after Portugal go ahead, because they get the penalty in the 30th minute. Lloris catches Danilo with a knockout punch. I mean, the old adage that the goalkeeper can go through people, he still has to get the ball. And even when he got the ball, he got it after Danilo had flicked it.
Yeah.
So he got there second. That's not getting the ball. You have to get there first to get the ball.
Yeah.
So that is a penalty for me. And
all day.
So Ronaldo converts it. And for the next 10 minutes, Portugal all of a sudden have this new life in them. They're on the front foot. They're going forward. They're combining. They're making nice movements off the ball. They're all, intertwining with each other, and the ball is moving beautifully. France are kind of sitting back, like you say, and they looked more likely to get a second until France get a penalty kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it is, I will say,
just
it is a penalty. Okay, again, the letter of the law. The video shows the arm comes up. That's a penalty. It's in the box, and it is funny how commentary will say that he was so smart to go down in the area, and if it's a different player, they would have called him a cheat. But but it is a penalty, and like you said, Benzema steps up. No mistake about it. That was the right guy to take it. Funny enough, though, Pepe was pointing right to where he was going to shoot it, and Rui Patricio ignored him and dove the other way, and or didn't see him. But 1-1. Then we come out for the second half. Lucas Digne comes on for Lucas Hernandez. He plays about 5 minutes and then has to come off injured. And Adrian Rabiot comes on. And this kind of helps Portugal a little bit because it weakens the back line for France. Also, João Palhinha comes in for Danilo. Presumably after getting hit in the, punched in the jaw, he was feeling the effects. And Benzema scores 2 minutes into the half on that nice play from Paul Pogba again.
Yep. Beautiful.
Maybe he's been France's best player in this group stage. He's been so good.
Yeah.
And
I
later in
would
the
say
match,
that.
he'll have that shot that forced a fantastic save from Patricio. But, it's mind-blowing because he's such a likable player in a French uniform.
I love Benzema. Yeah.
And we get to the 60th minute. Now Portugal get another penalty. That's a penalty all day. The guy's arm is like this.
Yeah.
It's, they can talk about, the new wording in the rules, but anytime you make yourself bigger with your arm, that's going to be handling the ball.
Yep.
And makes no mistake again I think there was even more pressure in that second one, obviously, because it's not 0-0 anymore. You're losing. Hungary are winning at this point. I think they were still up 1-0 at that point. And I don't ever believe anybody that says they don't know what's going on in the other result, because word travels very, very quick. They've got cell phones on the bench nowadays, especially. In the old days, they'd have a radio that one coach would have an earbud in listening to, and they'd say, "Oh, no, he's not listening to the other game." But so he steps up knowing that this may be their only chance to score in the next 30 minutes, because France are very good at controlling the game from a defensive stance and just not allowing you the good opportunities. He converts it. It's 2-2. Kingsley Coman comes in for Corentin Tolisso, and Coman really caused problems for Portugal's back line when he came in.
100%.
Oh, yeah, that was a fantastic substitution. I'm glad it didn't happen sooner. Because it would have
heroic goalkeeping from Rui Patricio.
Yeah, he made some huge. Reminded me of the 2016 final and some of the saves he was forced to make in that game.
It reminded me, of what was it? The 2014 World Cup, that Tim Howard game, 14 saves against Belgium.
Exactly, against Belgium. Yep.
He could do no wrong. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. So keeps it 2-2 with those saves. Then Portugal make a couple substitutions. In the 72nd, out comes Bernardo Silva and João Moutinho. They put in a hard shift today, covered a lot of space. In comes Bruno and Ruben Neves, who's looking more and more like me with the overgrown beard and overgrown COVID hair. And they come on, sturdies up the midfield. So the midfield, the difference was it's much more balanced today than it was on Saturday. You got less flashy players and more stable players, more secure players. And he keeps that theme going. Nelson Semedo's injured in the 79th. And we get the debut of Diogo Dalot, which scared me to death. And when I heard pundits calling for him to be included in the starting lineup, I said, you obviously didn't just watch the U21s when he got skinned alive in all three knockout matches. But he comes on and does not, he's not a liability. He does his job. Sissoko comes on in the 87th for Griezmann. So France are now saying, okay, this is good enough for us. Let's not give up another goal. Sergio Oliveira comes on for Portugal, replaces Renato Sanchez in the 88th. Interestingly enough, Portugal's coach is starting when he learns that the game is over and that Germany and Hungary have drawn and that Portugal are through. All of a sudden, he wants everybody to start going forward and he wants to go for the victory with 5 minutes left.
Exactly.
And he explained that he could see in his players' eyes that they didn't have the juice left to go do that. Yeah. And he said it was a very hot night and the players were exhausted. And I know a lot of the pundits said some of the breakdowns were more to exhaustion than they were to any type of brilliance in the play, because the teams got much more vertical in the second half and they were breaking through the lines easier. It was nerve-wracking, let me tell you. I finally, when Germany went 2-2, I started to breathe again, because I said to myself, not only is Germany going to shellac us, they're going to go and lose so that we're eliminated. That's what it felt like at one point.
Yeah.
And they finally get the equalizer. And we can go into that game. So I'll look at that lineup. It is one thing that's fun is when you have these simultaneous matches going and they directly affect each other.
Yeah. Well, that's why they do them. So technically they can't play
correct
to the result of the other.
Right. Because it was, I think, World Cup 82 where Germany and Austria played pass for 90 minutes because they knew a draw.
And that Japan game as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
When was it, 98 or 96 or whatever?
Yeah, something like that. So Germany will come out with Manuel Neuer in goal, Ginter, Hummels, and Rudiger in the back, Kimmich and Gosens as the wingbacks, still the same. Kroos and Gundogan in the center. Sane comes into the starting lineup. He partners with Kai Havertz as the attacking midfielders behind Serge Gnabry. For Hungary, Gulazzi's in goal, and a tough day for him. Loic Nego is the right wing back. The left wing back's Attila Fiola. 3 center backs, Attila Shalai, Will Orban, and Andre Botka. 3 midfielders, Laszlo Kleinheiser, Adam Nagy, and Andreas Schaffer, with Roland Salai and Adam Shalai in the attack. Again, Hungary get ahead early in this one, which put my stress levels through the roof, because I'm thinking, well, Germany, if they play like they did Saturday, they'll win easy, and this will be relatively stress-free. It'll be about whether we get second or third. No, 11th minute, Adam Shalai scores, and it's 1-0 to Hungary. And I do have to say, for a moment, for anyone who's attributing Hungary's toughness to playing at home, they were on the road today in Munich against Germany and took it to them. So going back to the point you made earlier in the week, or about a week ago, about how we've seen the home field hasn't been good for everybody.
No.
And you can say that aside from that one match, Germany have not been good at home in these 3 matches.
Yeah.
You get, let's see. So second half, Havertz scores on a broken play. I mean, Hummels heads it straight up into the air. Gulacsi's way out of position, and somehow Havertz comes down and is able to head it into the empty net. There was a check for offside, but the goal stood. Timo Werner checks in the 67th. A few minutes before that, Leon Goretzka checked in for Ilkay Gundogan. Goretzka would make a difference in this one.
Yeah, I know, right? What a substitution.
Yeah.
By Joachim Low.
Yeah, no kidding. So 1 minute after Germany level, Hungary goes ahead again. I don't know what Manuel Neuer was doing on this play. He's running out straight up, not making himself big at all in the slightest flick up by him.
German.
Yep. And the sweeper keeper gets beat. And there's 20 minutes to go at this point. And you're starting to wonder, is Germany really going to let this happen?
Yeah.
Now, had they not drawn, they would have been the ones going out.
Yep, exactly.
Had they lost, which this was such a torment for me, because I wanted to make sure my team advances. I want to make sure my team advances, but I would love for Germany to go out at the same time. You have to. I know if they score and they draw level, we're safe. It was just an internal battle going on inside me. So in the final minutes, I wanted Hungary to steal a winner late when it looked like the draw was, in Portugal's hands. But again, that's why this is one of the greatest things in this sport, is these simultaneous games, and you don't know what 2 are going to come out. And, it goes back and forth over the course of the 90 minutes, and the story just keeps changing and it keeps evolving. You get a couple of substitutions here. Germany send in Musiala for Gosens and Kevin Volland for Ginter. Obviously, they need a goal. They get it in the 84th. It is Leon Goretzka.
Goretzka, man.
Yeah, like we said, the super sub comes in. He makes the difference. And because of that, Germany will advance. The 12,403 in Munich. Celebrate for the most part. There was a mostly German crowd. And the referee would whistle at 90 plus 4. Germany takes second, setting up quite the matchup with England.
I mean, the thing I took away most from this game was just that Germany, and so, okay, call me square, but Germany is Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich,
for the most part, yeah.
The way that they play football, somewhat like Manchester United, but more so, I think, is we score, they score, but we score more.
Yeah.
And it is unbelievable how I was talking about it in a cappers group that I'm in, that, people were saying, Germany to 0 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there is no way in hell Germany are keeping a clean sheet in any game in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
No way, because their defense is old, it's lacking, but also that's not the way they play. Same with Bayern Munich. It's like no matter who their defenders are, they concede, but they just score more than you. And you see Germany, the way that they are set up is we expect to control the game. We expect to control the ball all of the time. So all of their goals come on, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, breaks or free kicks or penalties or some kind of mistake by a defender, a back pass that goes awry, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They never get broken down.
Right.
And so you look at their matchups. That's why they did so well against Portugal, right? They took the game to Portugal.
Yeah.
Portugal, somewhat similarly, is used to having a bit more of the ball and controlling it. France, not that way. They just love to sit back. That's what they do. So when you see Germany get kind of flustered and out of sorts like they did today, it all starts to crumble because they're like, wait, I don't get it. Why aren't we controlling the ball? Why aren't we controlling the pace of play? I mean, I think when the first goal went in, Germany had, up to that point, 80% of the possession, 5 shots, 3 on target, and they were down 1-0. I mean, that's that nightmare kind of scenario, and it's what happens to Bayern Munich all the time in the same way. It's like they're playing against, Werder Bremen or Schalke or, one of these lower table teams, not even in the Bundesliga anymore, Schalke. And it's like, oh, all right, so we're going to control the entire game. We're going to have 15 shots, 4 on target in the first half, and we're going to be down 1-0 going into the second half. And you see that time and time again because of the fact that they expect to control so much of the play. And so when they play a team like England, it's going to be so interesting because England is set up to control the ball but not do anything with it. So Germany will just keep pressing and pressing and pressing. And England, the way that they could be extremely successful, again, couch manager, at-home manager here, is use your wingbacks and use the unbelievable pace you have with Sterling and Rashford and Sancho, who still has yet to make any sort of headway, and Foden. And you put these balls in from your wingbacks, you put these long balls over the top for Harry Kane, for Sterling, and that's how they would be successful. They don't do that because they're obsessed with this ticky-tack bullshit that Spain tries to do, and it's not successful for them. That's why they only have 2 goals in this entire tournament against terrible teams as well. And Germany is going to really press them and really test their ability to counter, which is so interesting because if you look at who they have on their team, I mean, again, take Phil Foden out of this equation, but if you and Sterling for the most part as well. But if you look at Harry Kane and you look at Jadon Sancho and you look at Marcus Rashford, the way that their teams are set up are to counter and to use pace in order to score. And England doesn't do that at all. And
when they should,
yeah, oh my God, absolutely,
they're built for it.
I was talking to my wife's father today, and he's English, and we were talking about the games, and he was saying the exact same thing. It's like amazing how, hey, here's this talent, this is what they're good at, but we're not going to do any of that.
We're not going to do that. We're going to do what we're not good at.
Germany's going to take the game to them so much that I wonder, like, how does a team that's getting pressed so high score a goal if it's not going to be on the counter, if it's not going to be on the break?
Yeah. So does Sancho finally play since it's against Germany and it's against players he's familiar with?
Isn't this insane? Like, I guarantee you, Gareth Southgate's there right now talking to him, saying like, "All right, Jadon, like, tell me about these guys, because half of them play on your biggest rival, the other half play either for you or in your league, and he's going to tell them everything, and then he's going to ride the pine for
be the assistant coach
and come on, when they're down 2-1, 2-0." And he's going to say, "Go make a difference, son." Like, no way. I mean, it's just, if Jadon Sancho doesn't play a major part in this game against Germany, it's a travesty, man. He should have stayed at home by the pool.
Yeah, resting up for the next season. So before we move on to the round of 16, I gotta make a shout out. Cristiano Ronaldo now tied for the most international goals all time. Which I think is a great thing for Portugal, because I think that will alleviate the obsession with him having to score all the goals.
Yeah, and also deservedly so. He's the greatest footballer, in my opinion, of all time.
So there was an Instagram post today from the man he's about to pass, Ali Daye. I'm going to put it up here. And it's pretty classy. I thought it was really cool.
Oh yeah.
And he put this on his, and it just says, "Congratulations to Cristiano Ronaldo, who is now 1 goal away from breaking the men's international goal scoring record. I am honored that this remarkable achievement will belong to Ronaldo, a great champion of football and a caring humanist who inspires and impacts lives throughout the world. Vamos," from Ali Daye. When this is really classy. Of course, if I'm a footballer with a record, and someone's going to take my record, I want it to be someone like this.
Prolific.
And you can tell your grandkids you were the greatest scorer in international history until Cristiano Ronaldo came along. And in terms of international football, I don't think there's a comparison. You can talk about the Liechtensteins and the Andorras that get stuck in the qualifying, but you're talking about, you're talking about like 17 years at this level now. 38 years old. Actually, it's 19 years. He was 19 or 18 when he broke onto the team. He's 36. So 17 years or so since 2004 in the national team, scoring goals. But the amount of goals he scored after the age of 30 is what's astounding. As his role and his game got more refined, and as he became a more deadly scorer and less of a dribbler, it's just, here he is, top scorer in this competition at 36 years old. It's nobody.
And don't get me wrong, like, yes, 3 of them are penalties, but at the same time, it's one of those situations where, first of all, you have to be in position to get those penalties, and players were, and you have to step up and be willing to take them, and players were. And again, it's not just about the goals, it's the impact. It's like, I just, I gush over it because he is, in my opinion, the greatest of all time and one of my favorite players of all time. But it is just like, you look at the way he influences a game for both teams. Yeah. Like, you can bet that France had a whole session about how are we going to approach guarding Cristiano? What are we going to do around him? It's like, when you play Steph Curry, when you play LeBron James in basketball, when you go up against Barry Bonds in baseball, you are a player that completely changes the dynamic of a team versus if it was just 11 players versus 11 players. And the other thing that, I imagine you feel a lot of pride in is that it seems like, and he doesn't make it about himself when it comes to winning a game, whether it's, whoever scores the winner, that's all that matters. And yes, I'm going to take the penalties. Yes, I'm going to take the free kicks, but it's still just like, he impacts Portugal and the Portuguese team so positively in that sense. We're here to win. We're not here to give me glory. And he ends up getting glory because of that, I just, again, this is why I say he's the GOAT, is because you look at his contemporary comparison, Messi, who only beats him out in, La Liga titles and one more
Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, Ballon d'Or. But it's like, he doesn't take Argentina to that level.
No.
And I just think that's a big difference. Like, even when he was on Real Madrid, Cristiano Ronaldo, there were some games that he willed them to win. Yeah. I don't know. I love watching him and think, congratulations.
And he was huge, and especially at Real Madrid in that 4-peat in the Champions League. He just showed up in the biggest games rather than, he scores against the minnows, but he shows up in the biggest games. This is 2 matches in a row where they say he's never scored against this team, or he's never scored against Germany. He never scored against France. Well, they were penalties, but you still have to put him in. You still have to score them, and it's penalties.
It wasn't a penalty against Germany. You got to be
not against Germany. No, he actually starts the play by winning the ball off a corner in his own 6-yard box.
At 36 years old, look at the grounds he made up to catch up with John.
Exactly. He pulled
hate,
off a 100-meter sprint to get there for the tap in.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to run, but
no problem.
I will say the only thing I will say is I do think that Portugal has a shot against Belgium if they score first.
Yeah,
it's got to be quick out the gates for him.
Coming from behind. I was asked who I thought would be in the final from a viewer, and I said I think at least one finalist is coming out of that quarterfinal, which will be Italy versus Belgium or Portugal. I think the winner of that quarterfinal goes.
I think Lukaku is going to be a nightmare for Pepe and the boys, but
he could be. All right. Thank you for joining me tonight, man. I appreciate it. Everybody follow him at Fade My Play, and we'll see you Saturday, hopefully.
Get in, boys. All right. See you.
All right. See ya. Okay. So thank you again to Bodie for coming on and giving us his time. He's been so generous with his time this whole Euro. Making himself available just about every night to be on here with me. It is always a pleasure to have him here. I like his insight. He brings a lot of things that I don't always notice, which is what's good about having these conversations versus, the one-man show that I normally do where I just kind of talk and talk and talk. But I always like to get his point of view or anyone else's point of view as well. Before we go, what I'm going to pull up for you guys now is the table in the Pick'em Challenge. So I'm going to pull that up onto the screen for those of you watching. Anyone listening on the podcast, I'll just read it for you, and we'll see who's leading right now in the predictions. So it is the Park in the Bus 2020 Pick'em, and in first place is still James Allen Arnold, 14 points, and at Rim OK also on 14 points. There has been no change there in the last 24 hours. DMAC and Lucas Diedrich, Mario, and Alexi Taran, as well as at Unum 1904, all tied for third right now with 13 points. Nuno Pereira and my wife, who is kicking my you-know-what right now, along with Claudio Abrunyosa Pardal and Brian Hanford, are all in eighth right now with 12 points. My father is 12th, with 11, and he's tied with Leo at DGens United and at James Mix Picks. And in 15th with 10 points, Tiago Gomes, Josh Marsal, and at Moonblast X, Zach Grimes in the PTB Media Network are 18th on 9 points. Matt Cadet is 20th right now with 7. And my goodness, it has happened. My 5-year-old son is ahead of me now. I will tell you, I'm going to pull up my card. I don't know if it's big enough for you to see. This is my card, and you can see what teams I had and what teams are gone. Turkey, gone. Scotland, gone. Poland, gone. Russia, gone. That was the matchups I picked, and that's why I'm in last place right now. So, it's not always as easy as it looks to predict football matches. But congratulations to everybody up there in the top, and we will check in again Saturday as more teams go home. So here is the schedule going forward. It is scrolling there along the bottom, but for those of you that are listening, I will read it for you. Saturday, 12 o'clock Eastern time here in the United States on the East Coast, 9 Pacific. It is Wales versus Denmark. That match will take place in the Johan Cruyff Arena in Amsterdam. And then the late game on Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific. Italy hosting Austria at the Olimpico in Rome. No, excuse me. They are not at the Olimpico in Rome. I misspoke. They are at Wembley on Saturday. And then Sunday, the early game, same noon kickoff Eastern time, Puskás Arena in Budapest. The Netherlands take on the Czech Republic. And the 3 p.m. game, the late game, at the Estadio de la Cartuja in Sevilla in Spain, practically a home game for Portugal. We'll see if they get any kind of home field advantage. It's going to be very, very hot. It is one of the hottest cities in Europe, Seville. It is Belgium taking on Portugal. I may not get a chance to preview this one. This is going to be a tough match, but this is one I'm really going to enjoy watching, I think. Portugal can exploit certain holes in Belgium's backline, especially the guy who plays at my club, if he's on the pitch, if Jan Vertonghen is on the pitch, okay, he is going to have a hard time keeping pace with the Diogo Jotas and the Bernardo Silvas and the Cristiano Ronaldos. If I'm Fernando Santos, I am attacking Jan Vertonghen, and I'm sorry, Jan, Super Jan, you were brilliant you were very, very professional and very good this season for us, even though the season was not good. It was not the fault of Jan Vertonghen, and he's very good at building play out of the back. But I think that's a spot Portugal can attack, but they have to have the ball. And you don't usually hear me come on here advocating for having the ball. Portugal have to get close to 50-50 possession against Belgium, in my opinion, or else what happened against Germany will happen again. The difference is the Belgian players make different movements than the German players, okay? The Belgians are looking for the Lukakus, okay? Germany doesn't have that type of true number 9, big, stocky striker. I actually think it may work in Portugal's favor because you can get help on Lukaku. You have Pepe there, but he's probably not going to pick on Ruben Dias. He's going to pick on Pepe. But you've also got either Paulinho, who was fantastic today, or you have Danilo to play in the holding midfield role and drop between the center backs and assist in holding down Romelu Lukaku. Kevin De Bruyne is going to be brilliant in midfield. I mean, he's going to give Portugal a headache. I think his distribution will be fantastic. He's not going to be playing as a post-up false number 9 like Pep Guardiola had him in the Champions League final. No, he's going to be coming from the midfield, going forward with the ball, with the game in front of him, and he's going to pick out those passing lanes. We'll see where Eden Hazard is on Sunday. He's yet to really impress. And, my guy, Jeremy Doku, who I've said to watch, I was impressed with him yesterday. I hope he's on the bench and a less fit and a less powerful player is playing in that channel in between Ruben Dias and Rafael Guerrero. But that's going to be a big match for Portugal. But I think if they get by Belgium, I do fancy Portugal against Italy because Italy is yet to meet a team that can smack them in the mouth. Okay. And it's going to be a civil war in my house if it comes to that between my wife and I and my in-laws and whatnot. And my son's wearing the Portugal kit every Portugal match day. He doesn't even have an Italy kit. If they want to get him one, my in-laws are free to pay for it. But the kits he has are Portugal kits. So, it'll be a fun day. It'll be fun if they meet them in the quarterfinals for sure. But you have to give the edge to Belgium here. They're playing better. However, they have more pressure on them, in my opinion. They're yet to win anything. And this is a generation that has been touted for years as the golden generation of Belgian football. So we'll see what happens in that one. That is the Sunday matches. Going on with the schedule, Monday, Croatia versus Spain in the early matchup. This one is going to be played at the Parken Stadium. And then you have France taking on Switzerland in the nightcap in the Arena Nazionale, which I believe is in Bucharest. No, they're going to play. Are they playing in? It's supposed to be in Budapest. I don't know. I thought it was supposed to be at the Puskás Arena. I suppose it's in Bucharest, not Budapest. Did anyone hear about the French fans that flew to the wrong city today or yesterday? They flew to Bucharest instead of Budapest. They went to Romania instead of Hungary. They thought they were going to this match today, and they got there, and it was the Ukraine playing. The Romanian media pointed them out, asked them why they were there, and the story now is viral. Very, very funny. Tuesday's matches, you have the early one at Wembley. It is England versus Germany right now on FOTMob. Out of 7,527 votes, 53 people are picking England. I think they are insane, to be honest with you. I have seen nothing from England that suggests they're going to beat Germany. It doesn't mean they won't, but they have been playing around way too much. They've been in preseason mode, okay? if Germany get their head on straight, I think Germany underestimated Hungary today, but they're not going to make that mistake against England at Wembley. And if they overload Kyle Walker and Luke Shaw, I think it's going to be a long day for the Three Lions. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. And I think the pressure that's on England and the expectations every time they win a match 1-0, it's coming home. It's coming home. And I mean, maybe it's coming home. They're going to be playing enough games at home, that's for sure. But this is a stiff test for England, no doubt. I don't think they're looking forward to taking on the Germans, to be honest with you. It'll be very, very interesting to see what approach Gareth Southgate takes. And like Bodie and I were saying, if Jadon Sancho's on the bench and you're going to play tiki-taka against this team, you're going home on Tuesday, England. Stick to your game. Get back to your basics. Play English football. And you are one of the best teams in Europe if you play English football. That's just my 2 cents. Sweden take on Ukraine in the final match of the round of 16 Tuesday in the late game. That match will take place from Hampden Park in Glasgow. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this episode number 54. I want to say I've already, it's already escaped me. I believe it's episode 54. Yes, it is episode 54. So thank you again. We will be back on Saturday. I am psyched that there are 2 days of no matches right now. I am exhausted. I love football, but now I want to absorb some of this enjoyment I've had over the past 13 days. Okay, we'll be back on Saturday. All right, hopefully Bodie will be here with me, maybe another guest, and we'll break down Saturday's 2 round of 16 matches. The tournament starts for real now, folks. All right, so rest up, get ready, because it's going to be a wild ride all the way to the final on July the 11th. Thank you, everybody. This is the Mr. Mike Agustinu signing off. Don't forget to follow me at PTB_media on Instagram and on Twitter. Don't forget to go to the PTB Media Network's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. It's right there. And hit the little bell next to it to be alerted. I really need the subs, guys. Okay, I know a lot of you are watching on Periscope. That's where the majority of people watch this. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, and give a rating if you possibly can. I'm gonna need ratings. I need good ratings, and I need subscriptions right now, desperately. Okay, so please take a moment and just click on those couple of buttons for me and subscribe. To everyone watching on Facebook, please go to YouTube right now and subscribe, or watch it in the Parking the Bus Media Network's webpage, www.parkingthebusmedia.com, and you can link right to the YouTube through there. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you on Saturday here on Parking the Bus.